Welcome to the Sisters in Crime Writers Podcast. Everyone has a unique writing journey, so join us for conversations about those journeys from the writers themselves. This is Julie Henrik as the Executive Director of Sisters in Crime, and I am really delighted to welcome Heather Weidner to the podcast this week. Throughout the years, Heather has been a cops kid, technical writer, editor, college professor, software tester, and IT manager. She writes the Pearly Girls Mysteries, the Delanie Fitzgerald Mysteries, the Jules Keene Glamping Mysteries, and the Mermaid Bay Christmas Shoppe Mysteries. Her short stories appear in the Virginia is for Mystery series, including 50 Shades of Cabernet, Deadly Southern Charm, Murder by the Glass, First Comes Love, Then Comes Murder, and Crime in the Old Dominion. And she has a nonfiction pieces in Promophobia and Secret Ingredient, a Mystery Writers Cookbook. She's a member of Sisters in Crime National, Central Virginia, Chessie, Guppies, and Grand Canyon Writers chapters, International Thriller Writers, and James River Writers, and she blogs regularly with Writers Who Kill. Originally from Virginia Beach, Heather has been a mystery fan since Scooby-Doo and Nancy Drew. She lives in Central Virginia with her husband and two crazy dogs. Heather, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Well, I'm delighted to have a conversation with you, and you know, there's a lot we could talk about, but I'm going to start where I always start. When did you say to yourself, I want to write a mystery, or I want to write a novel? Maybe you didn't start with mysteries.
Well, I'm a CK, so I always lived with people talking about crime and true crime and stupid crooks. And I thought that everybody did that, especially at the dinner table. And I was shocked. It wasn't until college that I realized that normal people don't talk about that at the dinner table usually. So I wanted to be that girl. I wanted to be a crime solver, just all kinds of things growing up. And then I thought, you know what? I read these. I love them. I've been reading them since I was a kid. You know, Nancy Drew was a gateway book, and it just got bigger from there. So I said, you know, I'm going to try it. It's a lot of fun. It really is a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun, but it's also, you know, a craft that gets built over time. So once you said, I'm going to try this, you know, you mentioned college. Tell me about how you built your craft. It
started out for a long time in through college, early career and marriage and grad school. And it was probably the same two books. And I would write chapters and put it away and write chapters and put it away. And then I rewrite it 50 times. And I don't know if they'll ever see the light of day, but I think they were good to actually finish. And it was all right. I can do it. I can do this. Now I have to figure out what I really want to do, what genre, what subgenre. And I love cozy mysteries. I've always come back to them, even though I read suspense and thriller and all the others. I always come back to the cozy mysteries. And it probably took 5 years to write the first book that was published, and then another 2 years to get it published. So it was a long, arduous journey. And this sweet lady at church turned around in the pew and said, I read it in one night. When is book 2 coming out? And I thought, oh, I have got to write faster. This poor woman will be 7 years before she gets another book.
Well, the journey you're describing is not an uncommon one, you know, because those first books teach you how to write a book, and it's hard to let them go, but until you do, you can't get better.
And that is true. And a lot of it was, I kind of knew the craft and the mystery part, but I didn't know anything about the business, and I didn't know anything about networking. And I just got lucky. There was an ad in one of the papers saying, hey, we want to start a mystery group, and it's Sisters in Crime. And if you're interested, please come see us. And I said, all right, I'm going. This is great. And it was the best thing I ever did. My very first traditional publishing credit was in a Sisters in Crime anthology.
Mm.
And I was in Promophobia, which was a nonfiction piece. And it was amazing. I met so many wonderful people who are so generous with their time and their advice. And it's just you need your crew. You have got to find a crew. You've got to find a writer's group.
Well, and that is something that you don't necessarily know when you start out, because it's such a solitary activity, writing, but you really need people.
You do, and I just thought I was going to write books and cash checks and maybe do book tours across the world, but what? Run my own social media and proofread and yeah, wow, okay.
We're going to talk more about that, because I think that that's a really wonderful thing for people to hear. But let's keep talking about your career in the cozy world. You always love cozies, and, like many cozy writers, read other genres. I mean, it's not that you're not familiar with thrillers and suspense and things, but cozy's where your heart is. Can you talk to me about what about that subgenre? I think it's a subgenre of traditional, or, what draws you to that?
I went from Nancy Drew and Scooby-Doo and all the 70s cartoons to Agatha Christie and P.D. James and a lot of the British. And it was a soft-boiled mystery, and it just came natural. And that when I found the cozy genre, it's like, they're all usually women, and they usually have some other kind of job, and they're not law enforcement. And that's me. I don't run around with an AK-47, and I'm not armed to the teeth, and neither are any of my sleuths. They're just average people. I mean, she used a frying pan to subdue somebody one time.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just whatever you happen to have handy. And sometimes she gets herself in more trouble than she really should, because she's asking questions and poking around, and she, sometimes gets in some situations.
And she's curious. I mean,
very curious. Mm-hmm.
That's is going to find, a way to satiate that curiosity.
And it's fun to see what kind of jobs they have and what kind of hobbies. And I always learn something, because there's always a theme. If it's not cooking, it's candle making or gardening. And it's like, okay, that's really cool. And that's interesting. So, and it's a puzzle to put together. So I enjoy that. And I do read suspense, and there are a lot of fabulous writers out there, but I do have to go back to cozies and puppies and kitties and knitting after a while to kind of clean the palette.
Well, there's so many different kinds of cozies, as you talked about, and there are all different levels of, I'm not going to say, I guess I'm going to say tension or something. Somebody tried to explain to me once that there was a cozy noir. And it's like, I don't know that can be a thing, but apparently it's some people are trying to make it so. But let's talk about what is in a cozy. I mean, and you've alluded to already, it's, it starts with the community. It starts with the people, the sleuth, but also they don't act alone. They got people around them who go from book to book to book. And that's something people really love.
There's a community, and they can be their own characters and their own quirkiness, and they can have faults, and they can do things differently. They can also have skills, because she isn't law enforcement. So she does have a computer hacker friend that does some work in the deep web for her occasionally. And she always has some kind of law enforcement connection, even though they really don't want her snooping and they don't want her part of it. But they do appreciate that she can get people to talk, and she can get into places and conversations that they might not be able to.
Right. Or they know somebody who knows somebody who once, babysat for his sister-in-law, it's like, okay.
Small town. It's awesome.
And usually they have a hook. So you've written 4 series. Talk to me about how you came up with your hooks.
My first series was the Delanie Fitzgerald, and she's really a private eye. So it's not really a cozy, but that's what I like. So it's kind of written in the cozy format. There's not a lot of sex and graphics and gratuitous language. It is a little darker than the others. The cozies are more typical. The Pearly Girls, it's an entertainment facility that she inherits from her grandparents on the I-81 corridor in Virginia on the Blue Ridge Mountains. And that used to be the road to Nashville before the highways came along. And so there's a whole long tradition of moonshining and honky tonks and country and Western music. And so she's trying to continue that with her amphitheater and the events. I had the Mermaid Bay Christmas Shop, which is a beautiful little beach near Williamsburg, Virginia. And I always wanted to run a Christmas store. I thought that would be such a fabulous job to work in a beach community and have Christmas every day. And what could possibly go wrong with such an idyllic situation? And the glamping series, that my husband redoes a lot of cars. He will build classic cars. And so that means we watch a lot of television shows of rebuilds and things. And one just happened to be in California during COVID, and they were restoring ancient 1930s and 40s trailers. And they turned them into these fabulous glamping things with wine chillers and themes and colors and excitement. I thought, wouldn't it be great to own a campground with this? And you could have them all themed. So I love coming up with the themes. We have an Elvis one, and we have an Area 54 one, and we have 51. And what else? Oh, her boyfriend builds tiny houses. So now she themes those after authors. So we have a Harry Potter house and a Wizard of Oz house. So it's just fun.
Well, and I'm going to admit that glamping is close as I'll get to camping. I mean, I'm not a...
Me too. He's getting ready to go on his annual camping trip, and he said, we put the food in the tree so the bear doesn't get it. And I'm like, sure, honey, I want to go on that trip.
Way to sell that idea.
Yeah. What? No bathroom? No, thanks.
I love that. So you're building this world that you like to visit and that you're involved with. And you've written a lot of books. So that's just, this is, I love talking to people who've written different series and you've written novellas, you've written all kinds of things. It's hard to find the idea that is going to sustain a series for Cozies. I mean, you and I could talk about something and talk about Funko Collective, right?
Yeah.
And we could both write a series based on that. But you've got to do a lot of world building and a lot of thinking about it and deciding who's going to be the law enforcement, and what their relationship's going to be and everything else. Tell me about that. Is it hard for you to come up with those series? Is it, do you need the inspiration of seeing these trailers that have been, revved up, or how do you come up with your series ideas?
Nobody's safe. I mean, I write down everything. I find names. I find little snippets of conversations. People will say words or songs or slang. Or I am very fortunate. I work in IT, and we have some really great IT security folks. And sometimes they give me a lot of the technical ideas. That was one of them for the very first glamping series. It happened actually with pacemaker for the vice president under Bush. What was this? Dick Cheney. And they had to turn the Bluetooth off because they were so afraid that bad actors would hijack his heart monitor and his pacemaker. So there are certain things that are so good, and we have a purpose for them with the Internet of Things, that they can be hacked. I mean, so I thought, what if somebody hacks or threatens to hack people that have these special monitors and things that are life-saving? You would have to pay the commission, or you would have to pay the ransom in order to not die. And I thought, okay, that would be a horrible crime. That could happen. And somebody could sit at their desk and think of these horrible things. And that just kind of evolved. So I'm constantly jotting down ideas, newspaper art. Sometimes they're true crime. Sometimes it's cop stories that I grew up with that people talked about, dumb criminals and things that happened. And then with the Cozies, I like to think of a job I would like to have. I think, that would be fun to be an event planner or a Christmas store owner or Work in a campground year round, hey, that might be fun.
So you got a really nice house on the campground with
plumbing and door locks.
Yeah,
and yes.
spa. No, it's bear proof and all this. So, when you mentioned that CK, Cop's Kid, took me a second to understand that. But that I would imagine, especially if you're talking about the job and everything else, give you a different perspective in the world, but a perspective that could also have led you down, your first series was a PI series, but down a more traditional mystery or suspense route. I mean, how do you, because what can happen, right? From your dad, what can happen. How do you keep yourself from going there in a cozy while still, cozies are not immune to tackling issues that happen in the world. And I think, oftentimes they're not as respected as a genre as they should be.
And they're there. And I mean, I do tackle some heavy subjects, but I do it in a way that it is softer and it's not a lot of blood spatter and there's not a lot of gore. And it's more of a conversation or people's feelings rather than the shock and awe of the horrific scenes. Mm-hmm. He never talked about any of that growing up. I mean, I never did hear the horrific stuff. I mean, I saw him when he came home when he was burned with tear gas and things like that. I mean, you do know that. And you do know that, if policemen knock on the door in the middle of the night, that's probably not a good thing. This was in the 70s. We didn't have cell phones and pagers and things like that. So it was scary. He'd get called out, and sometimes it was 2 or 3 days before I really saw him again. And when he finally retired, the city gave my mother an award. The mayor gave my mother an award for being a cop's wife for 46 years. Yeah. So that was really sweet. But I did have the fun stuff too. I mean, we had a police dog at one time, and we used to go to the range. That was my first job, was picking up the shell casings. I thought everybody did this. The SWAT team didn't have paint bullets and things like they have now. So he and I melted down my crayons and made dummy bullets. I mean, what 6-year-old knows how to make bullets? I do, but or I did. So I know I had conversations in school that were probably not appropriate. I can get out of zip ties, hey.
Well, and Heather, as you're talking, I'm wondering and thinking that maybe some of the issues that are tackled in cozies, because it's not shock and awe and it's through conversation, if the impact is greater. If you're talking about homelessness in a cozy, it's part of the fabric of the community, and maybe that's more effective.
I think I can do that in a softer side, and I'm more comfortable with it. I mean, I really do struggle with the gory scenes. I mean, I try to describe it, but not over dramatize it and make it to the point where somebody's going to go, oh, I need to skip a couple of pages. I need to skip ahead and see what happened. But I also got to see the other side of police life. I mean, I've cleaned egg off of a police car. I don't know how many times. It happens. People are angry and they get upset, or we could never have a listed telephone number because we would always have an unlisted number, and we just didn't tell people. I was shocked when I went to his office because he didn't have any pictures of us anywhere. And he goes, you do know what I deal with all day, right? I'm like, yeah, but really, you can't put a picture up? But yeah, you can't. Yeah. He instilled a lot. I mean, I probably was very more cautious than some kids because I knew you don't get in the car with somebody else. If you get in the car, you're going to die. And so, yeah, maybe not everybody's parent had blunt conversations like that.
Well, and again, the 70s were different. I mean, you just got on your bike and drove to the next town to Dairy Queen. I mean, it was just different.
And we hitchhiked. People hitchhike. Oh, yeah, we were told, you ever hitchhike? And I find out about it.
Right? Which is probably, I mean, yeah. Everyone should have known. I mean, I don't know that there was less crime then. It was just, we didn't know about it all. And so we, our parents, as long as you were in before it was completely dark, I mean, in the summertime. Okay.
You're right. And we may have gone 3 or 4 miles. I mean, it might not have been on the same street or the same block.
Yeah.
It was, but you also saw a side of the police that were very different too. I mean, I can't tell you how many times he gathered up our old coats and shoes and things because he knew there was a wife leaving with nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is the humanity of it. And again, understanding the humanity of what people see when they're in public service is that's hard as a father and as a husband, everything else. So in a way, maybe it makes complete sense that you went to writing cozies.
And I just thought he was very overprotective, especially in college. And I can't do that. What do you mean I can't go to beach week with folks? And I can't just get in the car and go for the weekend to somebody else's college. He was strict. But now looking back on it, I'm like, it was the 80s and it was rough in certain areas. And I probably shouldn't have been doing things. So, yeah.
Well, and also how could he not be cautious because of what he saw every day,
And he still is.
He was.
He's 83 and he will sit in a restaurant with his facing the door. He will never sit with his back to the door. Quirks, just quirks.
Well, and also complete characters. I mean, that's the kind of the way you describe him through his actions gives me a sense of who he is as a person, right? And so that's powerful, and that's your writer brain is remembering all these different traits in these conversations.
And the smell of a police car, if you've ever gotten in one, you'll never forget it. They all smell alike. I don't care how many air fresheners you have.
So you wrote, you started with a PI series. You have written 3 series of cozies, but you mentioned talking that woman in church. You said, I read it in one night.
Oh.
When's the next one coming out? So let's talk about the publishing stuff, because I really hope that this podcast, through these many conversations I'm privileged to have, encourages people to write.
Yes.
That's because nobody needs to give you permission. The minute you start doing it, you need to build your craft. I mean, all these things. And nobody has to tell you you can do it. You can do it.
Mm-hmm.
Publishing is a different journey. And it's even more different now than it was a few years ago. I mean, indie publishing is a path, an amazing path that people choose, but it's still a ton of work and activity that requires you're paying attention. If you're with a small press, you have to pick up a lot of things. But even if you're with a larger house, a midsize or a larger house these days, you have to do your own marketing or have a social media presence. So talk to me about the publishing, just the business of it, but also let's talk about the marketing of yourself.
And you're right, you have to. And even if your company has your publisher has a publicist or you hire one, you still have to do so much of your own. And I spent years building up social media. And it's a constant care and feeding. And the best piece of advice I got was from Mary Burton from our Sisters in Crime chapter. And she said, whatever you do, do the events, do the things, but write your next book. That is your job. You need to write the next book. But you also, the contract comes and then you have to have a huge social media presence and a blog and a website. And it goes on and on and on. And it does take a lot of time and care and feeding. And if you do events, you're out and about and you're not writing. So
Right.
You do. It's balance, and you really have to. And I have a day job as well, so I have a very structured life.
Yes, and most people, do have jobs beyond. Most writers, once they retire, from the day job, that's a different phase of life. But in working years, very few authors can support themselves without survival job. Yeah.
And I get my great material there too. So, and with all the 20-somethings now coming along, that's where I'm getting my slang. And
helpful, isn't it?
It is helpful.
But the social media and the blog is also, this changes so quickly, and different social media platforms go away or they become more popular. You always own your website, you always own your blog, and you've been good about that. It's your presence brings them back to who you are, so that if this social media platform goes out of business, you're not going to be lost. You can't build your whole author platform on social media. You have to build it on your own website.
And you almost have to have a presence on all of them. So I tell people you need to pick the ones where your readers are and focus your time on those and make sure you're participating and active on those. And then visit the others occasionally. And you don't want to lose your name and your handle.
Yeah. And cozies, the cozy readers are rabid readers. I mean, they love cozies and they support cozies, and get very upset when books get canceled, series get canceled, things. And then there are a lot of them are on Facebook. And so even if you're not active on Facebook, that is where they are. And they have incredible groups that meet, and, all kinds of ways for you as an author to meet people.
And it's a wonderful community. I mean, the readers are so kind and generous, and they're interested. And when they sign up for your newsletter, they participate and they send you emails, and it's a lot of fun. I enjoy it. Every time a newsletter goes out, I love the correspondence that, it's like, look at these emails I get to answer. This is great.
So, but your advice earlier that you got that I think is good for people to think about is you have to keep writing your books.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't let that go. So tell me about your writing, the balance. How, do you write every day? Like, tell me about how you make that all work.
I get up early. So I start my day at 5. And this sort of was an experiment during COVID because we went work from home. So I said, all right, I don't have an hour commute in the morning and I don't have a 45-minute hour commute in the afternoon. I'm going to use that writing time every day, and let's see how prolific I can be. So I write from 5 to 7:30, and then I log on and go to work, and then I will write at lunchtime. And if I hit my word count for the day, then I'm done. If I don't, then I have to work at night. And then on weekends and days that I'm off, I have a higher word count. So I can write a first draft in probably 2.5, 3 months now, which is a lot faster than the 5 years it took for the first one. But I have to keep the schedule. I mean, I get Sunday mornings, I'm up at 5. Saturdays, I'm up at 5. And don't ask me to do anything at 10 or 11 because I'm usually zonked.
Good reason. And what is your general word count? Like what number do you try and hit?
I try to do 1,000 words on work days, and then I do 3,000 to 5,000 on weekends.
Wow.
But I work in IT, and I've been in project management for years. So I have my spreadsheets and my Kanban boards and how I've planned it all out because I have to know who's going to do it. Now, the characters can come in and change things, even though I outline, and they do. They take things down a path sometimes. But I know who the killer is, and I know how it's going to end. And that helps me when I'm compartmentalizing because I can write 1,000 words if I have an outline for that chapter.
I was going to ask you about that. I have a friend who's a plotter and feels that the time she spends plotting makes her first draft. It's almost like that's the first draft, so that when she writes the book, it is much faster. And when you have a very full life, it's much easier to know this is the scene that's happening. I don't have to think about this. I just know what I have to do. But also it just, you could trust yourself and get it done. But still 2.5 to 3 months is fast for a first draft or for, a solid first draft. No,
it's a first draft. So it still needs a lot of work. It gets reworked about 5 or 10 times after that. And that's even before my agent or my critique group see it. So.
And do you, this is good for people to hear, right? I mean, that you edit it yourself and run it through 5 to 10 times, say. do you work on one project, or do you, write a draft and work on a second project? Tell me how you balance things.
I typically do the same book until I get to a comfort zone that I've been through it 5 or 8 times and 10 times, and then say, okay, I'm tired of reading this one. I think I'm comfortable. I'm going to, send it out to some beta readers or my critique group and get their feedback. And then I'll make changes after that. And then it usually sits for a little while until it's ready for the publisher and the beginning, the developmental edits and things like that they go through. So that is a never-ending process almost, it's, I think I spend more time editing than I do writing.
Well, but that's an important part of writing is editing. I mean, that's, for some people, that's the favorite part. I mean, the rough first draft is tough. And then, they have the joy of, are you like that? Do you enjoy the editing?
I do, but the writing part and the research part, I can just get motivated, sit down and be excited and go. I have to reward myself, especially if it's like, oh, I've been to a critique group and now I have 50 pages of changes that I need to look through and decide what I need to change, where I need to move it. So I have to have little motivations like, okay, if I do all of this 4 chapters, then I can have the social media break, or I'll take the dog for a walk, or I'll get a piece of chocolate. So I do have to keep myself motivated.
Yeah. And how many books a year, or, do you have oftentimes that depends on the publishing schedule, but, are you a book a year person every 9 months? What's your
that's right now the way the 3 series are with the 3 publisher or the 2 different publishers. There are 3 a year that come out. So 2, 1 in the winter, 1 in the fall, 1 in the spring. And so those times I right before launch, I'm not doing as much writing on a new project. And I try to write ahead so that when I'm waiting for something, when I'm waiting to hear back about a contract extension or something my agent is shopping around, then it's like, okay, then let's get these things ready for next year. Let's, draft the back cover and whatever else that they need, a synopsis, and have all those pieces ready.
Yeah.
And I think the synopsis is hard to write too. That one takes me a little bit of time. But the outline does help. The outline helps.
Yeah, it does. But a synopsis is very hard.
It is hard. Yes.
Especially, not especially, but they're all different. There's like the 1 page, there's the 5 page, there's the 15 page, and everybody wants it differently. So you have to sort of, okay, if they only want 3 pages, what do I cut out of this 300-page book?
I know this was so important to me, but maybe I just mentioned him as a side character. Yeah.
Right. And publishers will use things like a synopsis or, your back cover copy, if you're drafting that, for their marketing. I mean, they'll do covers based on all that. So it's not just something you can just throw at them and just say, well, and I can change it. It's not going to matter. It actually does matter. And you need to let them know if you change the name of the town or the building or something, because they may build the whole thing around that one part. So,
especially the intricate artwork, and sometimes when they cozy covers are, almost an piece of art by themselves. So
they are, aren't they? Yeah. You also have written a couple novellas. Talk to me about that.
Those were all group projects, and I think that was my pre-cozy. I knew I could write the novels, and I had written novels before. So I said, I'm going to just try a cozy novella. And we all love dogs. And so they were all dog themed. So that was fun. And so we actually did 4 of those. And there were 4 different authors. And it was fun to do events with them and Facebook parties. And so it's nice not to be alone in a bookstore, because they'll ask you, where's the wrapping paper? And where's the bathroom? Is this on sale?
I think doing book events with other authors is always a good idea.
I know. I love that. It's always so much. It's a party. We brought a party with us.
Yeah.
And of course, everybody wants to see what's going on at our table. So,
because you're laughing and having a good time. The novellas are, for folks hearing this, 30, 40,000 words. And for a couple of my friends, that's their sweet spot. They wish they could always write novellas. It's like they always write short and they wish that, can I just send this in? And then that would be great. So it is an art form unto itself.
It's hard. I started out with short stories, and I actually think it's harder to write a short story, especially with a mystery, because you're limited with characters and setting and events. And it's like, well, okay, how do I do this without just clearly stating he's the killer? So a novella gives you a little bit more room, and you can play with characters. And you could, we did them. I had a couple that were recurring, so the same characters were in the next novella, same dog, same story, and it was storyline, and it's a lot of fun. I mean, it's fun to play with, and I think my short stories are darker than my cozies, but.
And I've again heard that from other people. They use their short stories to either talk about characters who were in a series that was canceled, or to write dark, or write differently. If they write dark, they write funny, or you could try different things out. Yeah. So what's the best piece of writing advice you would give somebody or you've gotten?
Let's see, to know that it's a business and you have to treat it like a business. Because when I was treating the writing as a hobby, friends, family were like, come on, let's go to lunch. And then it would be a 2-hour lunch and a shopping trip and something else. And it's like, I was supposed to write 3,000 words today and now I'm in Target. But okay, yeah. And not that I don't want to spend time and build relationships, but it's also work and it's writing. And when you have a contract, it is work. So that was a nice way. And it works for me. I am working and I'll be done working probably around 2 or 3. And then we could go do something. And that usually works out. But Alan Orloff gave me some good advice. It went along with what Mary Burton said with write your book. And it was BICFOK. And I'm like, okay, am I pronouncing it right? Big fuck? Is that what this is? What is this? And he's like, backside in chair, fingers on keyboard. And I'm like, yes, you're right. I know. I'm on the social media. I was checking Facebook. I was busy doing something else. Write your book.
Right. Yeah.
And finish it.
And finish it. Right. I mean, I read a statistic once that 96% of people who start a book don't finish it.
Oh.
I know, but it's hard especially to be comfortable with the fact that it's going to be terrible.
Yes. And it's very hard. I mean, that first time with Critique Group, I didn't know how they were going to respond. And they were all very good mystery writers, and a lot of them were published for years. And it's like, okay, this is a lot to take in. And not that it was ugly or they were saying anything to be hurtful. It was, wait, you can learn from this, Heather. This is stuff that, you thought this manuscript was ready to go to an agent, and it's not. And you need to really polish this.
Yeah. And that doesn't go away. You get better at it, but there's still, as you're writing, you get blinded by things, or you think you're being clear, and it's like, who was this person? Or I got bored here, and you have to listen to that and hear them. Yeah.
No, I had somebody tell me, they should, in the Delanie Fitzgerald series, she works for a strip club owner, and he's sleazy. I mean, he's just awful, but I had to give him some redeeming characters. So he cat sits for his neighbor. So he's not all bad. And they kept saying, he needs to date her. And I'm like, no, she would never date him. No.
Right. She's got better taste than that.
No. But he should date her. It would be great. The strip club owner. I'm like, no.
But you also bring up a great point that as a writer, we see, even in the worst villain in your book, they're human beings. First of all, they don't think they're a bad person.
No.
And also, no, everybody has something. that makes them human. Right?
And it can't be too perfect. You can't wrap it up every time. I mean, she can't always be the clairvoyant one that has the answer and is everybody's friend. There's got to be something.
Right.
So that's always difficult. And then everybody is that you? And I'm like, well, they all have characteristics of me. I run away from dead bodies, so no, it's not me.
What do you wish somebody, what's the worst piece of advice you've gotten or you've heard given to somebody?
I went to an event one time, and I don't even remember where it was. It was early writing. Get published, get out there, get yourself out there. So it was probably the early 90s. And it was, wow, you just have to write for the market and you have to know. And I agree that part is right. You do need to know what's in your genre. I mean, if you're writing something about, a bomb maker, that might not be the cozy, maybe the crime, but not your sleuth. You do have to know the tropes of the genre, the subgenre. But the way that this person had said it was like, oh, no, private eyes aren't working now, or no, werewolves aren't working now. You have to write exactly for the market. And I was like, I don't know. I think you write the book and then you figure out where it goes sometimes. But just know that, I mean, if you're set on writing something that nobody else is writing on, you may have to sell it and you may have to figure out how to market that and make it attractive.
And if you're chasing trends, by the time your book published, the trend's going to be over anyway. So, just write. It's excellent advice. Write the book you want to write and then figure it out. Yeah.
And I think if it's from the heart and it's got feelings and relationships that transcend things, it doesn't matter if she's, what kind of person. I mean, it transcends that, I think, sometimes. I think everybody can relate to a child that's lost a parent, or a child that had hardships growing up, or maybe she had no hardships and she's wondering what's wrong with her because everything's lovely. She's so Pollyanna. But
yeah. We talked about the importance of community, and you belong to several Sisters in Crime chapters. That's one thing about Sisters in Crime is you can join as many chapters as you want. I mean, you don't get assigned and it's a choice. And Virginia alone has 3 chapters. I mean, it's a certain areas of the country don't have any, and then some have 3, and there's lots going on there. Let's talk some more about the value of community in chapters and going to things, but also going to conferences and going to events and getting out there, even if you're not an extrovert.
And you need to. And I think you have to force yourself. But if you've got the community, which I love our chapters in Virginia, and we're close to North Carolina, we're close to Maryland. I mean, so there's a lot of mystery writers in this area, which is amazing. And we have our own little network. Hey, I'm going to do a Barnes & Noble in the fall. Anybody want to go with me? Anybody interested in Falls Church? You want to hang out in Northern Virginia? I'm going to Virginia Beach. Anybody down there? And so it is amazing. And they're so generous about sharing your opportunities and things. I can't ask for a better community. I mean, it was just, I don't know I hope every genre is like that. I suspect they're not, because the mystery community just is very giving and very caring and understanding. And it's just, you've got to have that sense of community. You're out there by yourself. It's scary, but we would say, who's going to BoucherCon? And we would all meet up. Or we would say there's a whole bunch of people from the Chessie chapter in Northern Virginia, and they're going to meet up at this place and this time, and we're welcome to join them if we'd like to. And it's just very opening and welcoming. And you find out you're not alone. Everybody's nervous and scared and overwhelmed. And, oh my goodness, I'm doing my first Malice go round, or, oh, I'm doing my first panel. I'm going to die. No, you're not. It's fabulous. And you're going to have a good time.
And you do have a good time, and it's, but you got to get out of your own way. And conferences can be expensive, but going to somebody's book launch at a bookstore, first of all, saves that author from having an empty audience, but also it's how you meet other people. I mean, it can be that simple. Just say to yourself, I'm going to 3 book launches or 3 book events in a bookstore over the next 6 months. And then you build your community.
And the programming in Sisters in Crime and some of these other writing groups is amazing. And we always said, if we have time, if it's on a Saturday, it's like, hey guys, who wants to go to lunch? And it's never anything that's organized. It's just anybody that's here and wants to go. And you meet people. Hey, I want to do an anthology. Would you want to be in it with me? Or I need a new agent. Who should I talk to? Or do you ever have a publicist? And what's your experience?
Yes. And being able to talk to people about the business is so helpful. And people will, write things down, but it's the conversation you have with somebody sitting over a glass of wine or, a cup of coffee, where you just talk about the real stuff.
And it matters. And I mean, and you can say things, not that, hey guys, I'm looking for an agent, but I'm looking for somebody that has these qualities, or I want somebody that's going to, answer me within a 3-week period or 2-week period, or, what is this person like? What's your experience? And I've talked to folks that have had, they answer me within the hour, or I talk to her twice a year, maybe 3 times. And so it just is style and preference. But it's good to get that. You're right. It's good to have advice. And should I be doing this? Or is this a scam? This sounds fishy. Or, should I try this?
And Heather, what you just talked about as far as agents go is so important, because not everyone looks for the same thing. There's some people who want to talk to their agent once a week. There are other people who's like, no, let me do their work. And then when we need to, we will. Mm-hmm. Or they want an agent to be an editor, to, be a developmental editor. And other people are like, no, that's okay. I'll take care of that. I want them to do this. But you need to know what you need so that you can find the person who's the match.
And I think that was one mistake I made early on. I wanted an agent so badly after I started with the Delanie series. So I would just do it shotgun. I'd send out 50 a week or 25 a week and go, okay, well, they asked for a manuscript. And then sometimes you'd hear back, sometimes you wouldn't, sometimes it'd be 6 months. And back then, sometimes it was letters too. So you weren't even emailing anybody, but you were sending letters, waiting for the mail. And I thought, gosh, there's got to be a better way. And I talked to some people in the Chessie chapter, and the ladies were part of the Wickeds up in your group. Yeah. Up in, I was going to say Boston, in the Massachusetts area. And it was very helpful. It's like, you have to do your homework. You have to know what subgenre, where are you going to put this book on the shelf? And she gave me an outline that she had, and she goes, just go through it and kind of think it through. And that helps so much. And she goes, and choose your agents like that. Find folks who focus on this genre, if that's what's important to you. And find out who's, and I think I read every cozy for about 2.5 years. And I'm looking through the acknowledgments to see who their agent was, or were they self-published, or, how did they do this? And I had my little cheat sheet going on. And it worked. I picked 5 agents. I sent out query letters. I got responses and offers from 3. And I picked one. And it was fabulous. And life was going on. And it was great. And it was a wonderful relationship. And she died suddenly, and that was a shock. And I spent a couple of months deciding, do I want to continue? Do I need an agent? What do I need to do? And it helped to talk to other writers and just to see what was going on. Because you've talked about the turmoil, too, in the industry. There have been a lot of orphaned authors, and they've lost agents or they've lost publishers. And it's traumatic, but it's good to hear that from other authors. You're not alone.
You aren't alone. And again, it's sort of like social media, where everyone's life looks stunning and everyone's fit and they eat these incredible meals and you're sitting there with your, box wine and your Cheez-Its and you're thinking, this is not my life. But when you talk to people, it's real talk. You need to talk when your series is canceled or when an editor leaves and you're orphaned, you have to talk to people who've been through that, because it's just, you feel so alone until somebody reaches out and said, no, this happened to me too. And, you're going to be okay. You just have to keep writing and figuring it out.
And I did the same kind of idea. I kind of figured out what I wanted. And they said, but you're in a better position this time than you were the first 2 times you were looking for an agent. And I said, how so? You know how the business works. You know people. You know contacts. You know people who know people. And it worked. It was beautiful. And it worked out. And I have a fabulous agent. And I'm very happy and excited to see where this goes.
That's wonderful. Yeah. No, that's, again, that's your business perspective on it. I mean, you approach it as you do your projects at work.
Exactly.
You gotta have a plan. Gotta have a plan to write. You have to have a plan to have an agent. I mean, and it's okay to want what you want. You don't have to pretend that you don't want this to happen, or that you don't, you're not dreaming of bigger things. Don't do that to yourself. Take it seriously.
And it's really, the imposter syndrome is strong. And I didn't really think about it too much. And it's funny. I mean, you can get 100 5-star reviews and it's like, okay, that was nice. Look at that. Oh, great. You get one, I'm quitting. That's it. I'm not a writer. I should never have done this. What was I thinking? I put my stuff out there.
I know.
So, wait, I am a writer. I am published. I am a writer.
Yeah. Well, you're a writer even if you're not published.
Right,
you're
exactly.
Published author when you're published. But don't set impossible benchmarks for yourself of, until I'm on a bestsellers list, I'm not going to, no, don't do that to yourself. Yeah.
No. And when you talk to that 1 or 2 or 5 or 10 or however many there are, I read your book. I loved your series. I follow you on social media. I really, this made me laugh, or this made me happy, or this reminds me of my grandma. I'm like, okay.
Yes. Or this got me through a tough time.
Yes. And that just is very tough. My mother, this lady, her mother had cancer, and she says she read them during treatment. And I'm like, oh, I'll bring you more books. I'll bring you more books. I'm glad she's doing well, but yeah.
Heather, you are a presence, and people can meet you at different conferences or find you. But you've also been active in Sisters in Crime and helping with chapters and on boards and things, and I appreciate that as well.
Oh, thank you. I owe them. It just is. That was the best decision I made. That was the best decision, the business decision, the best creative decision, craft decision.
That's awesome.
It is so worth it. And yes, I joined as many chapters as they have interesting programming, and they do all kinds of things, especially after COVID when we went Zoom. Mm-hmm. That made it possible to go to things like I went to a BoucherCon in California, and I got to be on a panel there. I never would have probably would have gone to that because of work, but
yeah,
it was great.
It's good. Thank you so much for a great conversation.
Oh, thank you for having me. This was fun.
Thank you for being with us today. Sisters in Crime is about community. We were founded to advocate for women crime writers, and we continue that mission by fighting for equity in the crime writing community. Sisters in Crime is an international, inclusive organization for all who write and love crime fiction, mystery, thrillers, and suspense. Join us at sistersincrime.org and make sure you subscribe to this podcast.